everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton here at Claris headquarters, where I've been called to the principal's office. Shh. I don't think they know I'm here. I'm hiding. So anyway, yeah. So welcome to FMTrain.tv. Let's take a look at the upcoming broadcast schedule. Today's going to be kind of a short day because I actually do have to go to the principal's office. Clarice has called me to the office, so we'll see what happens with that. I'll give you guys an update. If you go to FMTrain.tv, you can see if you hit the left tab, assuming the page loads, there it goes. The left tab right there is going to be this data comes right out of a FileMaker database. People always are shocked when they tell them that we use FileMaker. Yeah, we use FileMaker. And so on the left side, you can press the button to see the upcoming broadcast schedule. You can see today we're going to be covering on idle script triggers. These are the incredibly important features. We've discovered it in FileMaker today. Today is one of those days where you get to figure out what's truthful and what's not totally truthful. And so you get to figure out which parts we're lying about, which parts are truthful, and just for fun, right? So if you hold Control Alt Shift F3 and the delete key and tap the left cursor twice, you can see the on user idle script trigger, which is really awesome. And we've needed it for many, many years. We're going to be demonstrating that today. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Nick Cutter will be back doing his modernization workshop. As a reminder, if you press the bundles button, the third button on the left side, support the channel. We support the channel. It was really great. It helps us keep the lights, pay Margaret, pay Nick. Nick, despite what you guys think, Ken isn't paying for his upgrade. I'm paying for his upgrade. And so how do I pay for Nick? I pay for him with the money that comes from the bundles when you purchase the bundle. So that's how you support the channel. We really appreciate it. So let's pivot. We're going to be done here in about 30 minutes or so. We've got 30 minutes, but this topic is pretty easy. Margaret, if you want to quit sharing your screen, and then I will share here. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So this is a little bit of I hate to do a PowerPoint. We'll do some real review of this here, but the on user idle script trigger. The missing trigger, as we are all aware, because Control Alt F4 left / delete, tap 5 times the right cursor key. Yeah, not great. So this is so we did so first off, today's broadcast is primarily for people who are either beginning developers, maybe not so much you, but intermediate developers. And if you're a senior developer and you're not dealing with this, then I would suggest that maybe some of your customers are slowly sharpening their knives because your customers are sharpening their knives. They're not happy with you, right? Unless you found a way to really prevent users from running into each other. Because the issue with the on user idle script trigger is allows us to cover over and solve other issues, mostly when a customer gets up and walks away from the computer. And so with iPad and mobile devices, it's less of an issue because normally the device will go to sleep. And then after 120 seconds of loss of communication, the FileMaker server gracefully disconnects that user. So really after about 2 minutes, iOS devices are not a concern, right? It's FileMaker Pro on Mac and Windows is the main concern. If you're a WebDirect person, I think your timeout's like 15 or 20 minutes. So it's kind of a problem there on that one. But I'm not trying to solve WebDirect issues. Today, we're just going to be solving Mac and Windows issues with the FileMaker platform, not the Claris platform, FileMaker platform. So real quick, let's talk about this. So first off, use cases. We did a survey this morning, and we talked to 5,000 FileMaker developers this morning, and 92.5% of those developers reported that they are affected by idle users who walk off from their computers. And so that's a concern. That's a problem. And so the question is that, what happens with these users? A lot of times they walk off, they don't come back, or they take a long lunch, or they go on vacation or something, whatever they do, gone for the weekend, and they tend to lock records in FileMaker. The record locking, as you're probably well aware, causes other people to run into error messages. I had a conversation, and I communicated with you about a week ago, I had a conversation with Big Valley Aviation. So this is a practical use case today of a real customer who has been using paper still, and they decided to use something that's not paper and Post-it notes and Excel. And in the shop, they were doing maintenance on an aircraft, and they would come over and log what they'd done and what they found, right? Like the rotor blade is cracked, it's falling apart. We need a new rotor blade, something. And the boss was locked out, and it says, Juan Valdez in the shop, who is the entry-level person, has locked out the boss. And the boss looks at me and says, I'm the CEO. No one locks me out of the database. And I had to explain to him that I understand you're the CEO and you're very important, but FileMaker doesn't give a right? It's tech. It doesn't care who you are or what you are or how much money you have. Your is not in because the brand new guy who makes $25 an hour is is locking the record and can't get you out. So the question is, how do we deal with this? So we know that 92.5% of the developers are negatively affected by this. So how do we handle this? So possible solutions. We can chain users to their desk so they never leave their computer, right? Now, these have all been vetted by Claris. This is her suggestions on how we handle this, right? The next suggestion is one that's a possibility, and that's to engineer the solutions in such a way that, and it's more of an advanced senior developer thing, but you engineer the solution in such a way that as customers are working through the solution, they're not really record locking and parking or camping on top of a solution. All right, so trouble, here comes trouble. And so what ends up happening is that the other possibility, so that's this idea of structuring the solution in such a way that that you don't run into this record locking at all. And then the Claris suggestion is that you issue all your users pencil and paper so they can still make notes, even though they no longer have access to FileMaker because they're locked out of that, right? So anyway, yeah, if you want to say hi, Rick, let me know. That's fine. This is Rick. Hi, everyone say hi, Rick. Rick Kalman. There we go. Clarice is on the job. Her suggestion when we get record locking and we lock people out is to issue them pen and paper so they can continue to do their day job because they're locked out of FileMaker. Yes. So anyway, so pens and paper are not susceptible to record locking and represent superior technology, according to Claris. All right, cool. Moving along. So we need an on-user idle script trigger. It's not here. It's not in the product. Maybe someday, but right now we can solve the problem with Monkey Bread, which is really, really great. And so I had a situation where I needed a cross-platform trigger. I built on Mac, the customer's using Windows. And the other issue was that we wanted to set the script, this idle trigger, to fire after a period of time. And in my case, it's somewhat situationally dependent. It's not for everyone. When the script fires, it's because no one has moved the mouse or touched the keyboard for a period of time that we specify. In the case of what I did, it was about 3 minutes. And what we found in the use case with my customer was that if they weren't actively using the computer, they were working on the aircraft, and all they're doing is doing little bits of data entry, notating notes about what's going on. And so in my situation, if I kind of gracefully commit the record for them, kind of what I call saving the record for them, because for me to explain to them, click out of a field onto the layout away from a field, so it kind of locks the record back to the server. These are people with pen and paper in the year 2023, which is still a lot of people. The concept of record locking is a foreign concept. So I had to kind of hide the technology, paper around it, make it invisible. And the way we did that is that it basically hits save or saves the record for them after 3 minutes. And all the complaining after I did that went away. Miracle. So you want to make sure that someone is not in the middle of a complex workflow situation. And that if they're in the middle of a process and you commit, you kind of do a forcibly injection of a commit, you're not going to booger up their situation, right? So it's not for everyone, but I would think that about 90% of my customers would make use of this one way or the other. Big Valley Aviation, simple workflow. So it's not like you're filling out this giant long report and then you're going to disrupt the person halfway through. Never mind the fact that the person, if they had an important workflow, shouldn't go to lunch in the middle of it. But we know users will do new and amazing and stupid things to break our software. So let's talk about Monkey Bread and how we solve this. Christian Schmidt's not here. I'd have him here with me. So it's a call that's under this group of commands in Monkey Bread, and there's like 7,000 things this plugin does. It's the most amazing product on the planet. It's called Schedule, and what it allows us to do is basically on Mac or Windows, cross-platform, super easy, is to make one call, and we say so many seconds. If the computer isn't being jostled somehow, it's going to run a script, and it's up to us as good stewards of our solution to make sure that it takes appropriate action. So this is this section in scheduling here. We talk about that. And then the command specifically is schedule dot start script on idle. Okay. So it works on Mac, works on Windows. It doesn't work on server, but it wouldn't make sense for that. Like the server would idle on the server. Yeah, no, that's not even a useful thing. And so there's a little bit of information in here on it. The way it works is that there's an on timer, on window timer in FileMaker currently. That's just like a ticking bomb that goes off at the set time, whether you're using it or not. This thing here waits till you're not using it. It goes off, and then it stays dormant. And then if you jostle the computer, move it again, it starts counting down again, right? Internally hidden. It's great. And so this solves so many problems with the customers running into each other with record locking. One thing on top of it, in terms of the solution, I wired in from Christian Schmidt and installed. I'm over here partially looking at my audience, and I have this audience of one person here. And install. So the solution auto installs his plugin and registers it, right? And the Monkey Bread plugin is inexpensive. It's a great use. So what I want to do is, this is the script that we end up running. First I do is before I register the timer, I issue a stop command to make sure that I don't have any other ones that are scheduled. And then I start this new on startup script on idle. And this one's set at 180 seconds. And this is the name of the script. It's literally that simple. Down here below, because I wanted telemetry on what was actually happening, whenever this ran, I would have it write a little entry in a log file in FileMaker saying, hey, this user timed out, and it was this user on this machine. So I knew that it was kind of happening. Kind of neat. All right, so this is also the script right here. It's the FM stop idle command. So this would terminate the timer. So the thing is, when the timer's running armed, it's a lot like the timer in FileMaker natively. It's kind of headless. You can't see it's there until it kind of goes off. So you need to kind of proactively terminate it if you think you're not going to need it, and not just forget about it, because otherwise then you'd have bizarre behavior in the background. So let's take a look at the solution real quick. I'm going to jump out of Keynote. I'm going to come over here. This is the solution right here. The issue is they get into work orders over in here. They're doing data entry on solutions. They're putting signatures in. They're getting authority. This is all federally regulated by the FAA. And what happens, they'll start over here and they'll be writing away and typing and typing and typing. In fact, I need to be very careful. That's a real record. Let me go to a test record here so we don't booger up someone's stuff. And they're over here typing away and making a note, and they just leave it. And then someone else tries to log into this record and they can see it, but if they try to make their own edit, like they're working on a different part of the aircraft, maybe they took the engine out and they're taking apart the turbine jet engine and they're looking at the pieces, then they would make a note from inside the shop where they're using an electron microscope to look for cracks and stuff, right? So they can't do it because the person's locked out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick test up here. I'm going to set this to this and move it out of the way. So Margaret, I can't see myself anymore. I'm going to come over here to script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an uninstall. There's nothing running. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the 10 seconds. So it's going to run a script. And so after 10 seconds, so it's running. I think it's running now, but I'm typing. Then I step away and I walk away. And in 10 seconds, it's going to run the transient notification. That was the event from last week where we have these temporary there it is. And so that script, now in this case, I didn't run a commit. I just threw up the transient notification. This is literally that simple. This is literally that awesome. And I think it's essential. And it's kind of funny that the product manager's sitting here across from me because he hears me talking about this. But he's got bigger fish to fry right now. But yeah, someday when we get back to tactical features that we need, that would be one that I put on my wish list. What? He wants me to send it to him. It'll go to his list of 22,000 wish list items and then get ranked appropriately. Anyway, so Margaret, do we have questions from anyone?
Excellent illustration of how useful this would be.
Yeah, I touched the computer, then it started watching, and then it went off again.
And then what was I going to say? Hilariously, Christian Schmidt is here. He's watching. I know he's on vacation. So he must have gotten away to come and watch.
Christian Schmidt's on vacation, but he's still dialed in to watch us talk about his products. See, that's what happens. People get nervous. You're going to trash them.
But someone asked him, does this work in WebDirect? And Christian confirms, sorry, no. We have no access to the plugin to the browser. So, no.
WebDirect is a browser. WebDirect does not run plugins, okay? For all of you who are completely in love with that side of the product, okay? Like I said, I use WebDirect if that's the only way to get the solution to go. This is going to be the fastest live stream ever, Margaret. We'll be
There's
done.
kind of a comment from Lynn that I'll read out loud.
Lynn
Okay,
from Austin,
thanks.
okay.
I am working on a WebDirect solution. I've built my own timer to disconnect when the user is idle. I compared a lot of things like what the layout they are on when the last script ran, layout size, etc., etc. I can only have one window open as the timer is on that window.
Yes. WebDirect is a single document window kind of scenario, right? Yeah. And the layouts in it are kind of virtualized. So yeah. So what I did on my logic on this is that I didn't want the timers for the window or for this window on this session. And there's places where I don't want it to run. Like if I'm over here on the home screen or something like this, or I'm somewhere else, I don't need it to fire, but it's going to fire anyway. So what it does, the script says, am I on a layout that I am interested in and making sure people don't lock up? Is the record, you can get a get function, is the record currently in a locked state or an open state? The word locked and the word open mean the same thing in the world of FileMaker. The record is being edited by one user. Other people can read it, but no one else can really edit at the same time. And so is it on a layout that I'm concerned about? This one right here is the record in a state where it's open and locked? And if so, then it does a lock. It throws a little transient message at the top. Then it sends a PSOS message to the server for the server to please log the fact that this happened. So if the customer somehow starts vibrating, right? They start vibrating. Vibrating is what happens before they lose their they vibrate. And then if you don't resolve it, then they blow up. If they start vibrating, I have a log to go in there to see what's going on so I can triage it and remediate the issue before it becomes a big deal. But this has been one of those moments where I got it working, and I have been absolutely, utterly thrilled with the improvement that it's made to the customer's experience. Utterly thrilled.
Yeah, no, people are agreeing this is really nice, simple, quick, and useful. So.
Yeah, and it all done in less than 18 minutes. It's pretty awesome. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll call it good for today. I know it's short and you guys wanted more of a dialogue, but I've been called to the principal's office, so I got to find out what's going on here. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to talk to Rick. Thank you, guys.
Is that my clue to do?
That's your clue to let anyone have any questions and suggestions. I want to stop sharing. And then have suggestions for upcoming topics. That's great. We have a couple days.
People give me a JavaScript request.
Kyle Williams will do JavaScript next Friday. JavaScript under the hood, learning JavaScript. Okay? That'll be exciting. Well, I've added to the schedule.
Have a good one. See you guys Monday.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.